This video is made possible by Practical Defense Systems, the best online security training at the lowest prices. You can start your security career today online at pdsclasses.com. Check them out. Hi, I'm Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Happy 4th of July, a couple of days early. I'm really grateful for all of your support. Do check me out on these other places because YouTube tends to delete me from time to time depending on what I say. And you might also join the various different social media platforms I'm on and check out the GunGuyTV Firearms audio podcasts on your favorite podcast player. The 4th of July is just a couple of days away, and like most holidays, these are holidays where the United States citizens barbecue and other things, and they get together with family and like that. All of which is wonderful, but I think even with Memorial Day, Veterans Day, things like that, we forget by virtue of the fact that we're involved with family, and like I said, you know, in California we like to barbecue. We're grilling and doing those things, and we forget what the day is about. And it's important, particularly in these times right now, for us to remember what the day is about. So I wanted to share this with you because I think it's important for us to revisit what the 4th of July actually means. Now, this is my personal copy of the United States Constitution, and it also has the Declaration of Independence in it, the Bill of Rights, and like that. I've had it for a while. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights are wonderful documents because they're written in plain English. Anybody can read them. Now, they're written in Old English, so sometimes the English can be a little confusing or the structure of the sentences can be a little confusing, but for the most part, it's fairly easy to read. I want to read this to you. This is part of the Declaration of Independence because I think we're going through something similar right now, but not quite in the way that our founding fathers did. So let me read this to you. This is what it says, and this is the main page here. And so that you know it's all about July 4th, here's what it says. Action of Second Continental Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. In other words, the government doesn't rule over the people rule over the government, and the only reason why the government has any power at all is because the people, the governed, consent to give that power to that government. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Now, the Founding Fathers went on after this with a little bit more explanation, and then they went on to list the grievances that they had against the king and all the things the king had done to abuse them over time. And so they declared themselves an independent state, and that was the beginning of our country. This was written on July 4th, 1776. We celebrate it every year on July 4th, or at least we should. I think sometimes we grill too much. Maybe we drink too much beer or something, so we don't. I wanted to make sure that you were aware of it today because I think what's happening in our country right now, and I think the Supreme Court is really doing a great job of helping us, is we're taking our country back. In the decision we just got over concealed carry out of New York, it was not just about concealed carry, as I've discussed with Rick Travis and with Cam Edwards, and I'll be talking this coming week on Tuesday with Sam Paredes about what's happening in the state of California in response to that. The Supreme Court went into great detail and with great specificity listed out detailed, in-depth, absolute instructions for lower courts to follow when settling Second Amendment cases. And they didn't leave very much wiggle room at all. And where the core decision written by Justice Thomas left any wiggle room, the concurring opinions took that away. And so these governments have no wiggle room anymore. They've been abusing us for a long time. And then, now, whatever you think of the Roe versus Wade case, that one just restored the rule of law, basically. It sent it back to the states where it belongs, or to the legislatures where it belongs, because it said the court basically invented a right that they didn't have any authority to do. So since they didn't have authority, they said, we don't have any authority here, we'll send it back to the people who do. And that's restoring the functioning of our government and how it works, which you can read about if you read the Constitution. It's right there in the founding document of how our government is supposed to function, and it's in plain English. And you can own your own copy. You don't have to look it up online. That's what they did. But then yesterday, in a decision against the EPA, it appears to me that the Supreme Court has clipped the wings of three-letter agencies, is restoring the authority of Congress and taking away this usurpation of authority by the administrative state. Because administrative agencies like the EPA and OSHA and so on are not supposed to make laws. They're only supposed to administer the laws which are created by Congress. But for many, many decades now, basically ever since the WPA was created by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, these organizations have gained more and more and more power, which allows the president to rule like a king because he can do it through the administrative state rather than having to go through Congress. And our Supreme Court is starting to deal with that and deal a very heavy blow. And if you read that decision, you'll see where that decision, I think, I'm not an attorney, but I'm of the opinion, just as a layperson that watches these things, that elements of that decision can be used against other three-letter agencies where they go overboard. And one of those agencies would be the ATF, or BATF, whatever you want to call it, ATFE. Because they go overboard all the time and concoct things out of thin air. Well, it's going to be harder for them to do that, I think, going forward. So we are in the middle of a non-shooting civil war where we are fighting to take our country back, and the opposition does not like it. But I want to encourage you this July 4th because the Supreme Court has put teeth back in the Second Amendment. The Supreme Court, God bless them, is restoring the rule of law to our country and taking away this judicial activism that has stripped the United States Congress of a lot of its power, given it to a president and made him almost a monarch, and put us in a position as people where we don't have a lot of redress. That's changing. That has changed. The world is different now, and the leaders of this country don't like it. I like it quite a bit. And so I wanted to share with you that once they became a country, they wrote the Constitution, which again is in this book. You can read it. It's plain English. I'll just read you the preamble. And by the way, there was a time when you were required to learn these by heart. When I was in school, I was required to memorize the preamble to the Constitution. It was part of my education in my history class. We were required to read a lot of the Constitution and study it, and to read the Declaration of Independence entirely and understand what happened there. And we don't teach that in school anymore, because if we did, then Americans would know how their government works, and they would understand that the government only has the power we allow it to have. Let me read just the preamble for you. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. You see, it's all about liberty. It's always ever been about liberty. It's always ever been about the power of the governed the common people, about their freedom, about their liberty, about their rights. This is the only country on the planet in the history of mankind with founding documents that limit the government instead of placing limits on the people, that empower the people instead of empowering the government. On this July 4th, I encourage you to be very grateful for that. Yeah, our country's a mess, but by virtue of our founding fathers and their brilliance, we have the ability to take it back, and we are. So I want to encourage you with that. And if you have never read the Constitution, never read the Declaration of Independence, it's in plain English. It's in plain English. Stop looking at TikTok, stop looking at YouTube, stop looking at all these other things that are nice and entertaining and get your blood stirred up, and read the founding documents. You'll learn a ton. You will learn a ton. Have a great 4th of July. Stay in the fight. And thank you very much for all of your support. Stay safe.